another tutorial on web development with Flask. My name is Ronak Vyas and this video is a collaboration with Programming Knowledge. In this video, we'll talk about how we can set up our database in Flask and how we can connect our web application which we have written in Flask to the database. For the database selection, we are going to be using SQLite 3. The links are in the description for the source code of this video and the previous videos, and also for how to learn or way to learn about SQLite 3 more. I'm really sorry about the audio quality of the videos. I'm in the process of getting a new mic and the audio will be much more clearer from the next video. Until then, I'll try to be as slow as possible and also as articulate as possible. So let's get started. So let's see where we had stopped in the previous video. So let's run our web application and let's see how it looks like. So we had developed the front page, we have a nav bar ready, we had developed the sign up page and how we can send a post request or how we can send user data to the server and sign up and login. Now we're going to sign up a user or just enter his details into the database and we'll see how that works. So this is how our init page looks like. So let's add our code to actually initialize our database. So first you need SQLAlchemy in your program, so install that. I'll have the link in the description how to install SQLAlchemy in your project. Then let's import that. So from Flask SQLAlchemy we import SQLAlchemy. Let's initialize our database. So db equal to SQLAlchemy. We have our instance of SQLAlchemy ready here. Now we need to add some configurations into our app. So first we need a secret key. So usually we have a secret key in a different configuration file, but since it's just a hobby project, we can have a secret key here which is exposed in the code. And we have another config which is for the URL of our database. So we will be generating our database. So we need to let Flask know where our database URL is. So it's called as URI. And it starts like this. So it is an SQLite database. So SQLite : 3 slashes, and it is going to be inside the same structure. So it's going to be inside PL video file for my project. So, and the name will be db.sqlite. This is where our SQL database will be formed, and we'll see how we will be seeing that in a minute. And let's initialize our app in the database. So this is some configuration code which we need when we write our set up our database. And once this is done, next is to create our table. So we'll have a user table for a user to sign up into the website and store his credentials. And all the tables which are created using Flask go inside a file called as models.py. I'm sorry about the click noise because that is my new keyboard. I like a mechanical keyboard, so the clicks sound is really irritating for some people. So I'm really sorry about that. Now let's see how we are going to write our models.py. So first let's import our DB. So we had initialized a database here, the DB instance here. So now we can use it everywhere inside our applications with this. So then let's set up a class. We want a user which is going to inherit from db.model. Now this user will have an email ID, a password and a name. And since each user is going to be unique, we're going to give it an ID as well, which is going to be our primary key. So let's start with the ID. So ID is db.column. And the ID is going to be an integer. And the primary key parameter is going to be true. Next we need an email. So let's copy this so that we don't have to worry about the rest. The email is going to be a string, and usually emails are around 100 to 200 characters long. So let's give it 100 so that we know that it's not a really big email ID, and it has to be unique. So make sure that it is unique. It needs a password. So we'll not be storing the raw password inside our database. We'll see how we're going to hash our password and store the hash only. And in the next video, we'll actually see how we can rehash or get the hash password from the database, check it with the user entered password in the login section, and how we can log in a user. So everything about Flask logging system will be in the next video. In this video, we'll talk about how a user can actually connect the web application with the database. So again, a password will be a maximum of 100 characters. It can be same for different people, so we are going to put a unique parameter there. And the next is name. So we can just copy this actually. We don't need to write it again. The name is going to be a string. So this is our user model for our database, and this is ready. Once we have this ready, all we need to do is initialize or create the database. So now we create the database on the command line. So let's see how that works. Go to your command line, close the server for now, and here open Python, and from your project, so for me it's PL video 5, import the DB instance and create app. So we have our create app here and the DB here from init.py. So let's import that. Awesome. And now let's create all the tables which we have inside our models. So app equal to create app. That looks about good. So now what we are doing here is that we are manually creating all the tables, and we'll have a db.sql file here once we create this. And once that is done, we can start querying or inserting data into our tables. And as you can see, ignore the warnings, and we have a db.sqlite table ready. Close this, and now we can go ahead and add our users inside our database. So now go to our authentication file. This is where we handle everything regarding the sign up and login pages. And sign up post, as we discussed, is what happens when a user sends a post request. So we handle everything here. And let's see how we can input this into our database. So first we need some things. We need to generate a password hash. So let's import those functions for now. So we have this. We need the user table because we are going to add our user data into the user table. So from models we import the user, and as usual we need our database. We have our DB ready. So now we have all the required libraries, and let's set up our sign up page for now. So let's comment this out. And now first, once the user has put his email ID, name and password, we need to check whether the user is actually already signed up or not. So for that, let's extract the user from the database using the email. We have user dot query. We use the filter by function. So filter by the table with the email. The email is the email here, which we have at the top, and get the first result. Now here what we're doing is we're querying the database or querying the user table to get the row which has the email, and we get the first row, not multiple rows, just to be sure that we get the first one. And once this is done, if the user exists, then we just print that the user already exists, so that people know that they cannot. That's it. And once we complete this page, in the next video, we're going to redirect the user back to the sign up page. So let me just finish this. I think there's some error here. Let's see what the error is. The indentation doesn't match. That's fine. The indentation doesn't match here as well. That is okay. So let's clear it now. We have an expected token, which is this. Yeah, we're good to go. So now if user exists, we print user already exists. Now if the user does not exist, we create a new user, so new user, and we add this. We generate an instance of the user table. So the email is equal to email, the name is equal to name, and now the password is going to be a hashed password. So we're going to use a generate hash function, and let's see what we have the parameters here. So first we need the password to be hashed, and the method we're going to use is the SHA256 method. So SHA256. I'll also link down in the description about what is SHA256. You can read more about it. So now we have our new user ready, and this new user is an instance or an object of the user table, and all we need to do is add the new user to the database. So we have the db.session, and we add a new user, and once we add it, we need to commit and make sure that the user has been added. So yeah, let's check or let's see what we have done here. So in the sign up post, once the user signs up, we extract the email, name, password in the previous video as we saw. We check if the user already exists or not. If it does, we print that it exists, and in the next video we're going to redirect the user back to the sign up page because they can sign up again. If the user is not signed up or the user does not exist, we create a new user object. We add the object to the database and we commit and make sure that the user is there. So let's just check all our files and let's run it and see what we get. So Flask run. So SQLAlchemy has no attribute model. Let's see where we have missed it. Where was the error? The error was in UV. Oh, sorry, it has to be a capital N. My bad. Now let's go, and we're good to go. Let's refresh our page and go to sign up. So we can add my name again, so Ronak. The email ID is ronak@gmail.com. This is not the true email ID, and ronak123. We sign up, and let's see what the error is. Okay, so this is where we had an error. So since this threw an error here, the tables inside this were not created properly. So not a problem. We just have to do this again. So go to Python 3 and delete our database again. So move to bin, and now from PL video file we import db and create app, and db.create all, and the app is the app. Awesome. So now the database is created, everything else is done. Now hopefully should not throw any other errors. Let's see if that is the case. We go to our home, go to sign up, enter the name again, Ronak gmail.com and 1.3. Let's sign up. And yes, we have been signed up and we have been redirected back to the login page. Now, to actually see whether we have signed up or not, I'll be using something called as a DB browser. So I'll link down a link for this as well. So DB browser lets you see your tables, visualize it properly, and see whether all your data is inside your database or not. So we are going to open our database. So let's see. We go to projects. We have our YouTube Flogger, video 5, and we have the DB here. So now let's browse data. And as you can see, we have our name, we have our email ID, and we have the SHA256 hashed password and not the real password. So this is how we can connect our database to our Flask web application. So just to reiterate or go back to the process, we configure and initialize a DB inside the init.py. We make a models.py file with a user inheriting from the main DB model. We have all our columns, the ID being the primary key, email, password, and name. Once we make this, we go back to our terminal, we create the app. So here we have done that. And once we create the app, we can go to auth and check whether the user is already there or not. If it's there, the user is already existing. If it's not, we create a new user, add the user to the database and commit. So this is how we can connect our database to our Flask application. In the next video, we'll talk about user authentication and how to log in a user, how to handle login sessions using the Flask login framework and see how that works. So thank you.